There's a fruit fly that's fucking around and Alright, let's talk about the furry musician known as Russellbuck and their supposedly problematic album art cover that they had recently, which, spoilers, they released this album a year ago, and I guess furries on TikTok caught wind of it, they didn't like it, and they're deciding to dunk on it on Twitter now. I don't know, man, this whole thing is just non-problematic at the end of the day. I'm really more so concerned about why a lot of people were really keen to dunk on it. I do not understand how Dear Booty Cheeks manages to get people's panties in a twist so easily. Maybe it's the whole never-ending argument about things being too lewd or hypersexualized in the furry fandom, when this ultimately is pretty tame, if you ask me. But at the same time, a lot of people just kind of ignored that, understood that some furries are just bored and are looking for anything to turn into a negative Nancy situation, and instead turned it into a rather positive thing. But the post that kicked off the discussion on furry Twitter reads as such: when the music is actually good, but the cover makes it unlistenable. Now, the album cover that people were referencing also has an alternate album cover, so if you don't want to, I guess, have deer ass in your face while you're listening to it, you could also listen to just the single and have something different. So for those that don't know who Russellbuck is, they're a furry musician or furry music producer who's been making music since, I believe, 2018, at least from what their Spotify shows. I'm gonna be honest too, I haven't heard about Russellbuck up until like this happened. So I guess in some sense, the publicity did actually do what it did and got me to listen to their music. And I will say I gave that album a listen, specifically the song Just Be Competent, which, I'm gonna be honest, the music is pretty good. I feel like I listened to that while playing some Crazy Taxi or something. Is the genre for me? Not really, but I'd like to think that it's pretty good music, especially since it currently has 3.4 million plays on Spotify. That's pretty good, but is it for me? Not really. Does the album art go hard? Abso-fucking-lutely. But from that original post, things snowballed, folks gave their opinions and feelings on the music or the album art cover. Some people thought the opposite, where the music was booty cheeks, but the album art cover went hard. Which, if you're wondering, the art on the album cover was done by Brayburned or Ollie Alpaca. If you don't like NSFW or adult stuff, then yeah, you probably won't like that. And it's even gotten to the point now where people have been doing draw-overs of their characters in the same position on that art cover and giving their own little E621 tags in the back too. It's very funny. It's been a neat little trend to see, at least in people taking the drama as more, I guess, tongue-in-cheek joking and making memes out of it, rather than dwelling on the negatives. Look, I know it's not for everyone, and personally, I would probably not want this showing up in my Spotify playlist if I was like going out and about and, you know, someone saw my phone and I have that up there, which realistically, I don't care. But it's more of the point where, yeah, I could see where people might not like that, but I wouldn't take it as it's worth arguing that it's bad and that people should also think it's bad and the person who made it should feel bad that it's bad. There's ways of just saying, I don't like a thing. And then there's ways of saying, hey, fuck this thing. I mean, if it's in the context of the album cover, I mean, people would take that offer right away. They'd have their pants off before you even finish asking that question. I feel like this entire video is a precursor to a lengthier video about how furries and just people in general have become so awful to one another on social media. At least from what I've seen in the past few weeks, furries have just been awful to one another. And although that's a later subject entirely, I feel like it bleeds into a bit of now. Like, what is the need for this post other than you just don't like it? Usually I've been taught that if you don't like something, and you don't have anything nice to say about it or anything constructive to say about it, you don't say anything. And of course, if you scroll through that post, you have a lot of people who are still just as negative, and some being more brutal than others. Because I can only imagine receiving criticism like that, and it can really kind of sting a little, especially if you put your heart and soul into it, or you commission the artist and really wanted to bring that idea to life, and people are just shitting on it aimlessly on the internet. It's just how it is. You have to expect that even if you produce something that you really put your heart and soul and passion into, that there will always be people that will find something negative about it and say it as evidently as possible, if anything more so nowadays. And the best solution that I have for that is just ignore it and move on to something more constructive and positive. I mean, that's what I've been doing here. That's why you might see even this video being kind of lackluster in terms of covering furry drama. What I've seen is just been the same old stuff. Someone doesn't like one thing, and then it spirals out into sides being taken of people that like the thing or don't like the thing. Most of the time, the thing is not an issue to begin with. This is an example of a non-issue, but I wanted to cover it because it ended up resulting in something good, with this furry musician getting traction where they probably deserved it from their work. They made a post a couple of days ago saying how at the beginning of the month they were at around 38,000 monthly listeners. Russellbuck now currently has over 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. It just goes to show that negative publicity is still publicity at the end of the day. I mean, fuck, why do you think I want to make a podcast and call it the Popufur Podcast? It's gonna have nothing to do with Popufurs. I'm just throwing the name in there because it's gonna give people ick. They're gonna get angry about it. I can already see those posts happening of like, this is already the worst podcast that I don't even want to click on, and that's free advertisement and engagement for me, and that's just gonna work out at the end of the day. Not that that's the goal, but honestly, I kind of just want to take back the word that people are using in such a fucking cringe manner. Oh my god. Look, that's the only assumption that I can have. Furries are just bored. They're waiting for the new hit furry drama topic, the wheel to spin, and for it to land on another controversial thing for everyone to argue about, and nothing to come of it. So in the meantime, we gotta make issues over a provocative furry art album cover, which is nothing new from what we probably see in everyday music. Guys, don't tell them about Nirvana. That's just kind of the state of social media. I feel like if you see a source of negativity, you know, you don't keep scrolling through it because you're going to see more negativity or more combativeness. I know that's not really a good precedent to set where it's like, oh, rage bait in order to get people to click on you. No, don't do that. I don't even think this was a case of rage baiting in the slightest. It just so happened that people have an issue with this one thing that they don't like. I would like to think of this as a case of furries interacting with things they don't like on purpose and getting angry about. Which, no shit, Sherlock. There's this thing called discipline. If you don't like something, don't interact with it. I know there's also an argument on top of this as well about like furry music in general, like what qualifies as furry music. Like, is a furry musician making furry music, or does furry music have to be about fluffy, furry, cuddly fandom fursuit stuff? Because genuinely, furry musicians and furry music has been a pretty flourishing subgenre, or I guess sub-community in the furry community for a good few years now. I've seen it happening more and more. Furry DJs, furry musicians popping up. But I love the effort they put into like the cover for their albums because they go so fucking hard. Like every single time. Like Snuffles, Ivy Comb, Frisk, all of them, like they just go so fucking hard. Not just in their music they make, but the art and perspective they put together from the album covers. The fandom is filled with all sorts of wonderful artists. Do you know how amazing we can make some of these album art covers for furry musicians going forward? Could make some god tier covers, let me just say that. And this one is already an example of one of them. So I'll be leaving a link to Russellbuck in the description below if you want to go and check out their Spotify, go and check out their music. I'm sure a lot of you out there really do like it, and I want you guys to go and support it. That's how we're going to turn a negative Nancy situation into something good. Go and support furry musicians. Like, there have been a lot of furry musicians making some pretty good music, and I definitely want to talk about it more formally in the future outside of like a drama video. So if you have any idea on where I could take that subject of talking about furry music or furry musicians in general, please do let me know. I would greatly appreciate that. But either way, that's about gonna do it for me. Have a wonderful night, take care, life stay jacket, treat people like people. But that's about it for me, guys. Take care.